And so I include in the idea of incubators, anything that's a space where we're developing something new. Governments, you all, and investors, you should be shifting your money away from accelerators unless they're actually accelerating. And we could talk about separately, or we could add to the comments or discussion what that might look like. But you should be shifting your money to incubators because you can invest in the development of these spaces and this infrastructure and this curriculum to develop IP and teach people. That then begs the question, what is a venture studio and why a venture studio? Well, classically, a venture studio is more of an owner-operator entity in which the people aren't just helping the startups. The people are developing the startups. You have a stake in the companies that are being developed, and you have a responsibility to either provide the software engineering and the development, or maybe a marketing team, or maybe a business development team, or you have an obligation to fund and provide the software stack, to provide GitHub or provide Salesforce. Why? So that the startups that don't have that experience or don't have that capital to pay for have it available to them through your venture studio. And so because of that, governments should also be shifting their capital to supporting venture studios because they're technically operating businesses. They're making money by serving other customers or clients. They're perhaps working on some startups from external sources as opposed to their own. That at the same time, they're developing their own, right? Michele in a venture studio would be building something that he wants to bring to market in his venture studio. And at the same time, he might have a couple of other founders who have joined the team or joined the organization to build their startup. And they're doing that because he's got the experience or the team or the infrastructure that they need to be successful. The reason it's meaningful to investors and the reason it's meaningful to my friends in policy is because you're allocating money to an operating entity instead, a business that's going to make money, but because venture studios are typically what we were talking about. They are sector specific. And so the people involved are spinning out technology, they're building startups, and they're helping startups that they're most likely to help, that they're most likely to understand most. That it could be a media venture studio, as we've talked about today. It could be a healthcare venture studio. And in being a healthcare venture studio, when that fintech opportunity comes your way, you're not likely to work with it. You're not likely to help with it unless it's fintech for healthcare, because it doesn't really fit in the scope of what you're experienced with. And so you can see how a policy maker, a legislator, your local government would be much more effective and meaningful allocating resources to a venture studio because your city or your state or your government or your country might be best suited to doing some things in healthcare and biotech, but not fintech. Then great. Invest that in an incubator for health tech. Invest that in a venture studio for health tech. And then only if there's an accelerator that can actually accelerate things, that actually knows how to grow and scale and bring capital and bring customers and bring partners, would you invest in that? What we really need to do is just better discern what these terms mean, because they actually mean something. Most accelerators are actually just co-working spaces. Most accelerators are sort of actually incubators. And the problem with our misusing the words is that we allocate capital and we allocate resources and we allocate people to the wrong things, because what it says it is isn't actually what it's doing. Government funding and investors should be paying a lot more attention to incubators and venture studios because the impact of their work is actually developing something. And we want to make sure that we're being careful of when we're supporting an accelerator, is it actually resulting in much bigger, faster outcomes for the stuff that's coming into it? And again, recognize that most things coming into an accelerator are not prepared to be there, and the accelerator is not delivering those outcomes.